Red light on.
Sue Herman and the Byrne, the DCLM at the time, and she was kicking him.
We're about to begin. Everyone, please settle down. We're about to begin.
Someone on
Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Public Safety. At this time, we ask that you silence all electronic devices and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you would like to sign up for in-person testimony or have any other questions throughout the hearing, please see one of the Sergeants of Arms. Chair Salam, we are ready to begin.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Councilmember Yusuf Salam, Chair of the Committee on Public Safety. I want to welcome everyone here today for today's oversight hearing on law enforcement's role in keeping city parks safe. New Yorkers depend on our parks as sanctuaries, places for families to gather, children to play, and communities to bond. But when these spaces are compromised by persistent quality of life issues and criminal activity, their purpose can be undermined and the public trust is shaken. Today's hearing will examine the role of the NYPD, the Department of Park and Recreations, Park Enforcement's patrol officers, and other partners in keeping our parks safe and welcoming. We will hear about efforts to address longstanding concerns from robberies in Central Park to illegal ATV and dirt bike off-road in Van Cortlandt Park to drug use paraphernalia in playgrounds across Brooklyn. While the administration has launched new initiatives to address quality of life issues, we must ask how these efforts are performing and where gaps still remain. We are particularly interested in how enforcement decisions are made, how data drives strategy, and what is being done to respond not just to crime, but to homelessness and substance use in park settings, with the hope of balancing social service outreach and enforcement actions when appropriate. New Yorkers have a right to safe parks, and they also have a right to dignified treatment regardless of their housing status or mental health condition. We welcome the testimony from the New York City Department of Park and Recreations and the NYPD, and we thank our advocates and constituents who continue to speak up for safe, inclusive, and accessible public spaces. I thank everyone here today for participating in this important conversation, and I look forward to a thoughtful and constructive dialogue.
Thank you, Chair. I'll swear in today's witnesses. From NYPD, we have Deputy Chief Thomas Alps and Matthew Bessie, Managing Attorney. And from the New York City Parks Department, we have Commissioner Iris Rodriguez-Rosa, Matthew Drury, Chief of Legislative Affairs, and Asha Harris, the AC for Urban Park Service. If you could each please raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Okay. Noting for the record that all witnesses answered affirmatively, you may begin your testimony.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much. So good morning, Chair Salam and members of the Public Safety Committee and other council members. I am Iris Rodriguez-Rosa, Commissioner for the New York City Parks Department, and I am joined here at the panel by Asha Harris, our Assistant Commissioner for Urban Park Service, and Matt Drury, our Chief of Citywide Legislative Affairs. And we also have other key agency leaders. I am proud to be making my formal debut as commissioner before the council committee and to be joined by my colleagues at NYPD to discuss law enforcement's role in keeping our city parks safe. New York City Parks takes its responsibility to protect the safety of our patrons, parks, and public facilities very seriously. So I would like to take this opportunity to briefly outline the ways in which we seek to enforce park rules and make sure our park visitors feel safe and comfortable, which is the primary purview of our agency's Parks Enforcement Patrol, also known as PEP. The PEP unit's mission is to preserve and protect our parks and public spaces by enforcing agency rules and regulations, educating the public, and responding to the needs of our patrons. PEP achieves its mission with the support of various teams that also fall under the umbrella of the Urban Park Service Division, including central communications staff who are the internal link to first responders throughout the agency, providing support as a 24/7, 365-day call center, utilized to report incidents, request help, dispatch employees, and respond to emergencies. Our emergency management team coordinates continuity planning and spearheads agency responses to larger incidents, and these operations are critical to ensuring that PEP officers are supported during their patrols and prepared for any situation, as is the support from division administrative staff, academy instructors, and others. Our PEP division was created in 1981 as a companion to the agency's Urban Park Ranger program. PEP officers have NYC Special Patrolman and New York State Peace Officer status and are entrusted to enforce New York City park rules and regulations, in addition to the New York State Penal Law and New York State Health Code. Their enforcement efforts generally focus on quality of life offenses and deterring patrons from violating parks rules through education. But they are empowered to issue summonses for violations on parks property, including those related to street trees, and have the authority to make arrests when necessary. Though they do not carry firearms, these officers are equipped with ballistic vests, batons, handcuffs, and pepper spray. Our officers patrol city parks by bicycle, horseback, car, and on foot. Officers also provide security at many events held in parks, as well as rallies, protests, concerts throughout the city. They also maintain order, manage pedestrian traffic flow, and conduct security checks at citywide events such as the St. Patrick's Day Parade, Puerto Rican Day, and Thanksgiving Day parades. Our Corps of PEP officers is mostly organized into borough commands, each led by a captain and a number of sergeants. Our deployment approaches are dynamic and vary seasonally, depending on our enforcement needs and staffing levels. But PEP officers have traditionally provided coverage at our parks during hours when they are busiest, ranging from early in the morning to late in the evening, either through daily fixed post patrols or frequent mobile patrols. Additional patrol priorities are developed in conjunction with borough commissioners and their chief of operations, reflecting issues and concerns raised by community members, elected officials, partner agencies, service requests received through 311, and quality of life conditions documented through our parks inspection program, such as canine waste, graffiti, and vandalism. To help provide a uniformed presence and assist our PEP officers, we also deploy Park Security Service staff, largely city seasonal aides, who are hired to provide extra security at parks, beaches, pools during the busy season, and at our recreation centers citywide, as well as participants in our agency's work development initiative, the Parks Opportunity Program, to receive on-the-job training experience that helps prepare them for future employment. These staff members are uniformed and serve as an important role on the ground, advising the public about swimming rules and assisting with crowd control at park events, though they are not empowered to write summonses or make arrests. Our agency also fields a corps of urban park rangers who, like their Park Enforcement Patrol counterparts, are designated as Special Patrolmen and New York State Peace Officers and trained at the Urban Park Service Academy. Rangers definitely serve a valuable enforcement presence, performing patrol and responding to animal conditions, especially in our natural areas, though they are primarily focused on education through a huge variety of environmental and outdoor recreation programs enjoyed by New Yorkers across the city as part of the Public Programs Educational and Wildlife Unit. In addition to this roster of city-funded PEP officers, rangers, and security staff patrolling parks all over the city, we also deploy an additional number of PEP officers and security staff made possible with private funding to serve a dedicated enforcement presence at busy parks, including Washington Square Park and the High Line. The agency's enforcement staff play a substantial role in the city's response to emergency. In recent years, PEP officers have been recognized for heroic, life-saving efforts, ranging from pulling an accident victim from a burning vehicle, stopping someone from jumping into the frigid waters of the East River, and administering naloxone, a medication designed to reverse opioid overdoses. During weather emergencies such as wildfires, PEP officers and the park security staff and rangers are called upon to help direct patrons to places of safety, report down trees and other damage, in addition to supporting NYPD as needed. They also assist the New York Department of Homeless Services in engaging with the city's homeless population in parks, especially during Code Red and Code Blue emergencies. As part of the Mayor's Homelessness Task Force, our PEP officers conduct patrols aimed at finding and aiding people experiencing homelessness and assist DHS and NYPD with the relocation of clients and their belongings from parks. New York City Parks and NYPD have always had a strong partnership, and our local managers and borough commissioners are in constant communication with NYPD's local leadership. But as the mayor and deputy mayor for public safety and other administration leaders have made it clear, our city's enforcement officers are coordinating more closely than ever before to strengthen and streamline enforcement efforts. Alongside NYPD and other agencies, PEP officers have participated in 82 community-linked details addressing quality of life concerns in parks since its launch in 2023. During these details, various quality of life conditions have been addressed, including unlawful vending, pedicab violation, homelessness, illegal drug activities, and abandoned RVs. Since the pilot program launched in October 2024, Parks has also been a proud agency participant in Every Block Counts, a data-driven multi-agency initiative that focuses on city blocks that have historically experienced high levels of shooting incidents, crime, and quality of life issues. Chosen blocks have been provided with intensive support and resources in an effort to reduce crime and restore lasting safety and livability, with multiple agencies working together to create a safer, cleaner, more livable environment for residents based on each block's immediate needs. Stronger parks, safer communities is our endeavor to enhance the recreational assets and green spaces in communities with the highest rates of gun violence, upgrading and activating parks and community centers with positive use, and uniting people to strengthen and improve community safety. Above and beyond these interagency efforts, through which we are pleased to work closely with NYPD and other agency partners, New York City Parks believes that caring for our parks every day and keeping them active and enjoyable spaces makes them more welcoming and safer, whether it's the thousands of programs that take place each year in our parks, recreation centers, and nature centers. Today, maintenance performed by our incredible, amazing staff, or the longer-term park renovations and reconstruction projects led by our Capital Division. Gentlemen, in closing, without the diligent work of our PEP officers, rangers, and the incredible support of NYPD and other partners, the parks experience would be greatly diminished. Every day, we work to ensure park rules and regulations are being upheld and that a helping hand can be provided to patrons in need. I am extremely proud of the work of our staff and thank them for their continued service to the City of New York. Thank you for allowing us to testify before you today and for all of your continued advocacy for our city parks. We will now be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Holden and on Zoom by Councilmember Ariola. I'm going to open up with questions specifically for Department of Park and Recreations. Volunteers and parents have cleaned large amounts of drug paraphernalia, such as syringes and pipes from parks and neighborhoods like Clinton Hill. We want to know, what is DPR's official protocol for staff responding to drug waste in parks, and why do some boroughs have dedicated cleanup programs while others do not?
I will say that one of the things that we're proud of, that we provide training to all our park workers that go out there do maintenance in our parks. So we give them bloodborne pathogen training so they can safely, they are safe in cleaning up as much of these paraphernalia that are found in our parks.
And I'll go on to mention that I think the programs you're referring to are special partnerships with existing service providers. So they're usually nonprofit organizations that have sort of come around and been formulated in areas that have experienced really sharp increases in syringe debris and litter and things. And we are always open to expanding those partnerships. But I'll note that the programs where they exist currently are focused on where we've observed the most severe conditions. That's largely in the Bronx and a couple portions of Upper Manhattan. But as new conditions arise, that's an ongoing conversation above and beyond the day-to-day cleaning and maintenance that Commissioner Rodriguez-Rosa just mentioned.
Thank you. DPR's bike and e-scooter pilot is ongoing through December 2025. What safety metrics is DPR using to evaluate whether this pilot should be expanded, modified, or terminated?
I don't have, Council Member, thank you for the question. I don't have the specifics at this moment, but I know that we're continuing the pilot program to see how effective or how it is at our greenways. So I will be more than happy to obtain some additional information for you, Council Member.
Thank you, thank you. I definitely appreciate you getting back to us about that. And some park drives and greenways allow for micro-mobility devices, while other paths remain off limits. So what we want to know is, how are these boundaries communicated to the public on the ground and enforced in practice by PEP officers?
Good morning. Thank you, Council Member, for the question. So when we launched the pilot, we had a series of details that we conducted throughout parks citywide, where we handed out flyers to individuals and educated them on the rules. Our main approach is to educate first prior to enforcement. What we also did was, depending on the area and the demographics, we did have those pamphlets translated, so that way we can have different languages that we can hand out. So it was in Spanish, Bengali, French, just to name a few languages other than English. And essentially we did a lot of education partnering with NYPD. We also partnered with FDNY and did education on the lithium-ion batteries, and again, fire risk. So there's a lot of work done to just educate the public, not only on our rules, but how to operate safely in our parks.
Thank you for that. I would definitely love to have copies of those handouts if you can provide that to our office. In our districts, there's a lot of folks that probably will be able to give those to as well, so that they can then further disseminate them to, their friends and folks that they know. PEP officers and urban park rangers are authorized to issue summonses for curfew violations and in some cases initiate misdemeanor charges. Given the potential criminal consequences, how is DPR ensuring the public is clearly informed of park curfew, especially tourists or new residents?
So when it comes to, we have, we try to make sure that the public is aware. We also have a considerable amount of signage that are throughout all our parks that sort of denote some of the things that patrons should become aware of. We have a very extensive, signage program. And we also encourage people also to go onto our website to be able to familiarize themselves with many of the things that are occurring in our parks as well.
And park safety data shows a concentration of crime in large, high-traffic parks, while small parks remain relatively safe. How does DPR adjust its PEP deployment safety strategy in response to these crime patterns, and what level of input does the department have in NYPD's park patrol priorities?
So it's important, as I mentioned in our testimony, we have an amazing, remarkable partnership that we have with NYPD, and we also always look to NYPD. Will also will communicate with the Parks Department if they feel that there's an uptick, particular uptick in a particular location, so that way we can strategize that park enforcement and NYPD can then strategize as to how to address those particular concerns. So more to speak on any specifics, if Asha or NYPD wishes to be able to speak on that.
Good morning, Chair, Council members. So on a regular basis and a yearly basis, we strategize together as a team, Parks Department and NYPD. Typically around the month of May, we ask the boroughs and the local precincts to develop a strategy and a plan based on last year's data, reviewing index crimes and quality of life conditions. So we sit down as a team, we discuss what are the current issues, what are the crimes that we're seeing, what are the trends, what are the patterns. We get on the same page and we prioritize parks to maximize our deployment. Just to talk about the overall state of parks and the overall strategy and the initiatives that are ongoing with the NYPD. Park crime has decreased 386 crimes from 2016 to 2024. It's down 36.3%. Since 2016, park crimes on average decreased, culminating in a historic low of 855 crimes across the city in New York City parks the year of 2020 COVID. Post-COVID in 2021, 2022, and 2023, we started to see crimes in parks increase across the city. 2024 marked the first decrease year in park crime since 2020. We went down 5%. This year, we're down 13.6%, which tracks with the overall crime throughout the city decrease. We're at 356 crimes across the city in New York City parks versus 412 last year. That's a decrease of 56 or 13.6%. When you look across the city, 2025, where we're seeing issues or slight increases is Patrol Borough Manhattan North, specifically in Morningside Park in the 2.6, Marcus Garvey Park in the 2.5, and Highbridge Park in Manhattan in the 3.3. Raw number increases are slight, +3 in Morningside, +2 in Marcus Garvey, +1 in Highbridge. When I'm talking crimes, I'm talking about major crimes, serious crimes, 7 major index crimes. So that's the type of information we share continuously. We have long-standing relationships. I've known the commissioner for quite some time, from my time up in the Bronx. So these type of relationships are long-standing, and ours is one example, but it's going on in local precincts with park managers. So we have a great continuity and we're seamless. So we share this data with parks. They see it. We also talk quality of life issues. Let's talk, what are we seeing in specific parks? We had the borough commanders and the precincts provide us with chronic conditions in the parks across the city. We compared those complaints that we received and we're observing with the Parks Department. In many aspects, they see the same issues, and in addition, they've added some issues, so we're on the same page. So we look at these parks, we prioritize, our resources are finite, but we're strategic in what we do, and our deployment is fluid, and we're moving accordingly. But the overall state of parks across the city is very well. It's in good shape. We have some outliers, like I noted. But when it comes to addressing conditions that make New Yorkers feel unsafe or make it impossible to go about their daily lives or disrupt one's ability to enjoy a park, we have determined that success comes by way of collaboration. Collaboration with local officials, community members, and other city agencies. We know that enforcement is only part of the solution. The NYPD Community Link Initiative is a cornerstone of that approach. This initiative helps address complex and chronic conditions by strengthening communication across multiple agencies and leveraging each agency's expertise to effectively solve these conditions for the long term. Since inception, NYPD Community Link has responded to 1,500 complaints and conducted 1,600 operations. Under the Community Link umbrella, there are 3 notable initiatives underway in New York City parks and 1 additional initiative on the perimeter of Central Park. All these initiatives are community-centered approach and can be tailored to additional parks. Central Park, or the Central Park Conservatory Partnership, launched a year ago and includes dozens of agencies. We're addressing illegal vending, pedicab complaints, dogs off leash, reckless e-bikes, and things of that nature. Central Park and PEP officers are working jointly and conducting weekly operations. Central Park Conservatory assists with the Ranger Corps by acting as a visible presence and promoting respectful use of the park through education and assistance. And NYPD is also doing outreach as well with our auxiliaries and some officers, especially in regards to e-bikes. We have enforcement results, but what is particular to note, crime in Central Park is down year-to-date 50%. Mm-hmm. Specifically, robberies in Central Park is down 90%. It's 2 versus 21, so that's outstanding. Then we talk about the 110th Street corridor, which is right outside Central Park on the north end of the park. Initiative launched April of 2024 to deal with drug use, paraphernalia, and homeless issues outside the park, but it was affecting the quality of life in the park. This is along 110th Street between 5th and 8th. Results are we have engaged over 1,000 clients and made significant arrests to solve those issues that were embedded and chronic on that corridor that was complained about by the community. Next initiative that's significant to note, the Washington Square Park, or the Village Interagency Task Force, launched in March of 2025 to combat persistent drug use, homelessness, and quality of life concerns. This is a great example of a community-centered, multi-agency approach to address complex issues. The 6 precincts and PEP officers maintain a daily presence in the park, conducting enforcement. What's particular to note, the Manhattan District Attorneys is in partnership with us in this endeavor and regularly attends weekly meetings to discuss and guide strategies. So that's significant. Index crime in that park is down 13%. We have enforcement results that are significant, and you can see that it's affecting crime in that park, down 13%.
Just a quick question, because I definitely love the downward trend in most of New York City. But regarding the outliers in Manhattan, you know, especially in my district, is there any suggested methods in order to get that down as well? I know that a lot of it may deal with, you know, trying to fill positions, attrition, all of that, you know, that the NYPD is definitely dealing with. But I love the fact that the city at large is receiving a good fair share of positivity, but that negativity, not a lot, just a, positive 3, 2, and 1. Would love to see if there was some more collaboration that we could look at in Manhattan North.
In other parks like Marcus Garvey,
Yes.
perhaps. So we noticed the issues up there. I highlighted the fact that there is a slight increase in index crimes in Marcus Garvey Park. The commands, like I had mentioned, their yearly strategy must be laid out. It must include what officers are going to be deployed, how often, when, what unit is being deployed into these parks, and what conditions they're going to correct. They must, in their precinct plans and borough plans, and Marcus Garvey's named in these plans, they must state, when was the last time they had a strategy meeting with parks? How are they going to address it jointly? And then the use of Community Link is invaluable, meaning Community Link has those established interagency contacts and relationships that they can address it jointly, whether it's outreach or it's enforcement or it's services being provided. So I highlight Washington Square Park, I highlight Central Park, and I highlight 110, but in fact, Community Link is doing similar methods throughout the city and in parks like Marcus Garvey Park. Battery Park is another instance where we have an ongoing initiative going as well. In addition, to promote public safety in city parks, we have standing details at 4 beaches, 3 parks, and every New York City pool. So that means dedicated officers in these 4 beaches, 3 parks, and every New York City pool. Orchard Beach, Coney Island Beach, Rockaway Beach, Midland Beach, Flushing Meadow Park, Prospect Park, and Brooklyn Bridge Park. Plus, we supplement oversight in the New York City pools with PEP officers.
Let me ask you this. Recently, I was, I don't want to say canvassing my district, but we were definitely enjoying the day the other day. And what I noticed, and I said, wow, this is really, really positive, was that in King Towers, and I'm just using them as an example, there was a patrol car stationed inside of King Towers. What I remember growing up in that area was that the visibility provided really the best safety measure. As soon as we saw officers in the community, whether they were walking around or in this particular instance, actually sitting on the ground, that really provided great stability. People were walking around knowing that they were safe. And I'm wondering, because Manhattan North, on the northern side of Central Park and Lenox Avenue, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X Boulevard, I remember there was a patrol car there as well. Clean, so that level of cleanliness, when people saw that there's somebody there, there's the NYPD making sure that we're safe, in addition to all of the other efforts that were going on right there, cleaning up that whole corridor. I'm wondering if, in terms of these outliers, there may be an opportunity to do the same kind of thing. Because especially in my district, the oversaturation of drug use, a lot of times people, even though there's like that one place where people know, okay, I can use drugs safely, I can make sure that I'm not gonna die trying to get high. But we want people who may not necessarily be trying to use drugs to feel safe as well. And I know that in those examples, a patrol car sitting right there smack dab in the middle of everything, let people know, okay, either go somewhere else or this is a safe place for us to bring our children and have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for noting that. As the Executive Officer of Patrol Services Bureau, I understand that deployment at King Towers. That's part of our summer violence strategy, and it does work. Flooding the zones in areas where we're seeing violence has suppressed shootings citywide and violence citywide in specific zones or areas. So the mere presence connects with the community and also suppresses crime, violence, and quality of life issues. So, and then we have the strategy on 110th Street between 5th and 8th that we're talking about, but that needs a more complex approach, the 110 street corridor, because we're dealing with individuals that have mental health issues, drug addiction. So beyond the scope of NYPD, that's why the multi-agency approach is best suited for a long-term solution. But I think that's really the theme today, that many agencies are working seamlessly together, communicating, have long-standing relationships, and we're addressing these issues not just from an enforcement perspective, but from every angle. And that is the best and most successful approach. And in addition, NYPD leverages technology. So we have cameras, Argus cameras. We have drones that we use in some of the beaches, like Rockaways, Coney Island, Orchard Beach, South Beach. So these technology measures help ensure public safety. And I mentioned the planning that we do yearly. It's just a recap of what we saw last year and what we're seeing currently, and we strategize. And then the communication, and then lastly, I'll add, I think the intelligence sharing is stronger than ever. We're providing that crime data to parks so they can see what we're seeing. We can strategize together, and we're sharing information perhaps that could keep park employees safe, perhaps trends, patterns, people that are wanted for violent crimes, and they could possibly assist us in identification or perhaps apprehension. So they can help us as well, and we're sharing that intelligence with them. We're not operating in a silo.
I definitely appreciate that. I have one question before I start. I'll open it up to my fellow council members. And I want to note for the record that we've also been joined by Deputy Speaker Ayala. DPR partners with DHS and DOHMH to conduct outreach to individuals experiencing homelessness in parks. We want to know, what role does PEP officers and park managers play during these outreach efforts, and how are decisions made about when to escalate from outreach to enforcement?
Thank you, Councilmember, for that question. Overall, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Asha Harris, but before that, we always try to lead everything with compassion and education. I mean, it is with the sister agencies, DOHMH and DHH, Homeless Services, that we continuously communicate with them, and we strategize with them in the most humane and compassionate way to be able to try to address the issues with the individuals, and also to try to seek services for them as well. So we're very compassionate about that, but I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Harris to speak a little bit in more detail.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Council Member, for the question. So our team works very closely with the NYPD Encampments Task Force Unit and also the Department of Homeless Services, as well as other city agencies, to conduct homeless outreach throughout our parks. There are instances where we have to coordinate cleanups, and essentially prior to that space being cleaned, there is notice provided. We want to make sure that individuals are aware, again, of the rules, are provided services, and essentially are given the option to accept or ask follow-up questions. We conduct multiple details. Last year, we conducted 665 details throughout our park system. Our PEP officers approach every single individual experiencing homelessness with compassion and care. Part of it is there's a trust building component. You want people to be able to speak freely, let you know what they want, and essentially get them the services that they need. We have had a couple of success and crisis cases where we were able to get individuals who've been homeless for quite a number of time to accept services, which we're very proud of. So there's a lot of work that is, again, done by our team, along with the maintenance and operations staff. Sometimes it's, a recreation staff member conducting a program that observes this, our officers while on patrol. So there's just a lot of communication. Again, we work very closely with NYPD, DOHMH for services, and DHS as well.
I want to note that we've been also joined by Councilmember Caban. I have a question regarding the notice. You mentioned that prior to cleanup, notice is provided. What's the time frame in that particular regard that people, say for instance, who might be, I don't want to use this word, but camping out in the park, but what notice, how long would they be notified?
So it comes in a variety of forms. Again, as I mentioned previously, it is education first. So as we engage the individuals, we let them know what the park rules and regulations are. Again, being homeless is not a crime. There has to be some type of violation. So it really depends on what we're seeing, if we're addressing a park rule violation or if we're just engaging with someone to let them know that there are services available, so that they're aware of the services that can be provided, right? Whether it's they need somewhere to eat, to shower, et cetera, right? So there is that type of engagement. So that's one thing, right? Letting people know if there is a violation and if there isn't, what services are available. If there is an established encampment, right, and it is determined by the encampments task force that we would be proceeding with a cleanup, then that individual would get 7 days notice unless there is an emergency situation that poses a serious public health risk to that individual or to others. So it really would depend on what we encounter at the time that we engage that individual.
Thank you for that. I'd like to now open it up for questions from Councilmember Holden.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Commissioner. It's nice seeing you again, and we go way back. And it's nice to be at your first hearing as Commissioner. And we welcome you and looking forward to a good partnership. So now some of my questions would be centered around PEP. There's not enough of them. We need to double or triple the PEP, to protect our investment. That's what we need to do, is to double or triple the amount of PEP officers. And they're great, we just don't have enough of them. And we need them around the clock. We don't really have that. What's the biggest obstacle to hiring more PEP officers? Is it the starting salary, and what is the starting salary?
So, Councilmember, as we know, we always utilize the resources that we have on hand to be able to adequately be able to distribute them equitably throughout the city, and we also make use of them properly. So, the starting salary specifically for it's 50,000. It's 50,000. It's give or take. It's 50,000 as a starting salary for the PEP officers, and we always look forward to being able to continuously recruit PEP officers. So any help that we can get from anywhere will be appreciated, absolutely.
Right, and because I've been associated with parks in my community for over 40 years now, as a civic leader, as a coach for Little League, and you name it, I've done it within the parks, as you know. I've never seen it this bad. Probably since the late 70s, early 80s. I've never seen it this bad, meaning illegal vendors have the run of the place now. We can't get them out of the park. I never had before motorcycles in the park now, not even on the paths. Now yesterday they were on the asphalt softball field in Juniper Valley Park. I was going to vote, early voting, and saw this guy race in with a motorcycle, not a little scooter, an e-bike. It was a motorcycle, and just having his fun. I called 911, obviously. Over 1 hour later, I got a call from NYPD saying, is the guy still there? And I said, are you kidding? You know, it doesn't work when we can't get either PEP or NYPD, and then people know that they have a really good amount of time to do what they want. Illegal vendors are routine at my concerts. I'm running concerts in the park every week, and there's at least 2 or 3. We finally got NYPD to show up and stand there. So we point out the illegal vendor. You know what the cops told them? Well, go outside the park, and you can sell outside the park, which is inaccurate. They can't. They can't be at the curb. They can't even be in the park perimeter. So they're constantly there. They're selling without a license, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. The e-bike program, by the way, that allows e-bikes or these motor vehicles inside the park, the pilot program, was a disaster. And it actually promotes. This is why I'm blaming that pilot program, why I have motorcycles in the park now. Because once you create that, you actually are giving them carte blanche. I'll tell you what works, though. And Commissioner, I'd like you to, and also with the police, that we actually get this done. The best thing that we've done as a community is do a text chain on Forest Park. I don't have Forest Park in my district anymore, but we still are part of the chain. That we have concerts in the park that we sponsor, but then we have also concerts that we don't sponsor. And you know, Commissioner, we've been complaining about this. These illegal car meetups, they put these big speakers on, and they were doing that at the Forest Park bandshell parking lot. They do it at Highland Park. They do it in West Maspeth. They do it adjacent to a lot of parks. A text chain works the best. That means communities, the stakeholders are NYPD, PEP, leadership of parks in Queens, meaning Phil Sparaccio was our guy on the chain, and he always responds. That's great. The CO of the precinct or community affairs always responds, and it actually works. And the communities can tell us, the people that live there, say, there's guys with big speakers that are blasting noise all over the neighborhood. That works. No other precinct, though, the 102 set it up with us, right? I don't have the 102 anymore. I can't get the 104 to do it, I can't get the 110 to do it, and I can't get the 112 to do it. So what we need is Parks to be a partner with NYPD and actually set up a chain with residents and stakeholders and so forth, because it does work. And not getting a response, or getting a response an hour later to a 911 call where somebody's riding very, very fast, and I have the video, anybody wants to see it, I'll send it to you. I sent it to Phil Sparaccio. This is unacceptable, that we endanger our residents and park users, and that's why people don't want to go there, because there's lawlessness. We had the running track issue, you know, at Juniper, which took over a year. It extended over a year because of design problems. The track is getting destroyed now by daily bike riders and people just riding e-bikes in the park. And so that needs to be addressed, but NYPD is short-staffed. PEP is woefully short-staffed. So the answer is it's not getting addressed unless we come up with some creative solutions. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, NYPD.
Thank you, Chair Holden. Our chair will be back in a few minutes, so in the interim, I have a couple of questions regarding curfew at our local parks. Hi, Commissioner. It's the first time I see you after you were appointed Commissioner. I'm so happy for you and for us. But regarding the curfew in the parks, one of the things that I run into periodically is that folks will get a permit to have maybe a barbecue, a party, some sort of celebration, and it's great because it starts at 12 noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's having a really nice time, and then it turns into an adult party after 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and people refuse to just leave the park. How does the Parks Department handle that?
So in several parks, we do have certain parks that we're able to close, that we're able to shut down. I know that we do it in Manhattan and we do it up in the Bronx, that we're able to shut some parks. Sometimes it's difficult because if the park is open and open to the public, but I'm going to have Assistant Commissioner Harris be able to speak to specifically the curfew hours on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. So our parks usually have signage, like the Commissioner mentioned, that has the hours of operation. If there's a location that you're seeing this frequently, we can definitely coordinate with your office and with NYPD to address those concerns. If we have intel that something's happening, right, let's say it's something that happens annually, we will coordinate resources to ensure that we have someone at that location to help deter that activity. Another great resource is the community utilizing 311. calling 311, it will get dispatched to our central communications, and then it can get flagged for our team as well. So there are different approaches on how we could address those violations.
Yeah, I see it mostly at the parks where you're allowed to barbecue. You know, folks just, if it's a nice day, they'll stay until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And usually, you know, by that point, they're drinking, and, you know, not every party, obviously, but trying to figure out how do we create a better process for ensuring, especially when you're a permit holder, you know, you have to give, you know, do you have to give some sort of a deposit to show that not only did you leave on time, that you adhere to the, you know, to the rules, but that you cleaned up after yourself right after your event? Is there like a way that folks can maybe have to submit maybe photo evidence or bring back a permit to, I don't know, whoever that acknowledges that they have left the premises and that they've left it the way they found it?
Yeah, I'll just note that, you know, and we encourage, you know, all folks that are having a sizable event over 20 people or so are getting a permit for a gathering like a barbecue. We want folks to enjoy our parks, but do it responsibly and safely. So it's usually made clear. So for example, if a picnic, you know, begins at 12 p.m., like almost certainly it'll, you know, there's also an end time there, and so that's usually discussed and expected.
What is the end time?
Well, it depends on the application. People can work that out with the various permit offices. So there's no limit per se, except to say, well, unless the park has, you know, operating hours, obviously it would fit within that confines. And I think we usually seek to end our permits, you know, an hour or so earlier than the closing time of that park, at a minimum, sometimes. But more to the point, once they're in a relationship with us, once they have that permit, you know, I think there's dialogue with the permit office. I think you're raising some interesting ideas about, you know, additional steps that might be, whether it's on an education front or otherwise. I think that we can kind of look at a little more closely and consider, because right now, I believe for an event like a barbecue, which is reasonably small in a grand scheme of things, I don't believe that there's necessarily a security deposit. That's usually for larger events that are over 250, 300 people. That's where that starts to come into play. So like a concert, something like that will almost always have a security deposit or a bond that's held. For small, you know, we obviously want our parks to be accessible. You know, we don't want to introduce unnecessary burdens on the cost side, but you're raising a fair point that there have been instances where if damage is done to the property or if there are problems with an event, we have the capacity to follow up with that permit holder and, you know, either seek, you know, redress of that or, you know, theoretically, you know, reject permits in the future, that sort of thing. So there are some mechanisms. And Commissioner Harris, if you have anything to add, please.
And I just also wanted to add that while the officers are on patrol, if we do see a large group of people and there is alcohol or there is something that amplifies sound or something that's going on, we will still engage, right? So essentially they have to comply with their permits, so we would engage and address those violations that we observe.
Yeah, I really do think that, I mean, I get it. We don't want to impose a financial burden on families that may not be able to afford it. I mean, but it is you know, reimbursable. And I think, I mean, I know when I have to pay a deposit, I'm going to make sure that everybody in my team is behaving and that we're leaving it as is, because I want all of my money back. So I think it's something that's worth considering. I think also I would love to hear from the NYPD about the policy on, you know, are we removing folks on time from the park? Like, does the PEP department monitor the timeline, or is that an NYPD thing? At what point do you guys come in?
So we understand that parks and NYPD have a finite amount of officers, and there's issues surrounding closing parks. So the NYPD, in certain circumstances, has taken on the responsibility to enter parks, have people voluntarily move out of the parks, and close gates in some instances. So we're closing parks on behalf of the Parks Department. So we have that agreement in our yearly strategy sessions. For instance, DeVoe Park, St. James Park, I'm at a 5-2 up in the Bronx. So there's several parks that we are assisting the Parks Department. For the most part, it's voluntary compliance, asking people to leave. In some cases, it is a common summonsable offense, and people do get summonses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know I have, Mill Pond, you know, has had some trouble with folks drinking and hanging out until later on in the evenings. I've had it at Thomas Jefferson as well, but at Thomas Jefferson, I've also had shootings. And actually at Mill Pond, we recently had a couple of shootings a few weeks ago. And that, usually is related to the activities in the park, right? Because people start off having a really nice time and then it becomes, those events transition into something else. And those, there are not that many of them. So I want to just be very clear that for the most part, folks are going into the parks to celebrate whatever, is happening in their lives at the moment. And we want to make sure that they're safe as well, but we want to make sure that we're not only keeping the space safe, but that we're also protecting the land and the grass and all of the things that cost a lot of money to replace and a lot of effort. And I think we've gotten better in terms of like the garbage collection that happens, because now I think we're doing nights and mornings after those events. But I think that there has to be some sort of level setting in terms of like, by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, like you gotta, there should be no barbecuing. There should be none of that. If you want to stay in the park, you're welcome to stay in the park, but all of that has to be shut down.
And just to add, just part of our summer violence strategy, parks are sensitive locations for us. On Friday, Saturday, Sundays, they're prioritized. We understand that significant crime and violence could occur in parks. So we have 311 supervisors that are monitoring the 311 system for those type of complaints that can indicate and are like what we consider precursors to violence. So we prioritize those 311 calls, and we get into the parks and we show a presence. We clear the park if we have to and address any quality of life conditions. So parks are prioritized, especially on the weekends through the summer months.
Yeah.
So you'll see presence in the parks.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to have to even have that conversation, but oftentimes, we'll see that folks that were not the intended, victim end up getting hurt because they just stayed a little too long and something else transpired, between someone else that's visiting the park, and so that, for me, is the prime focus of this. In regards to the illegal drug use, Commissioner, you've been with me at walkthroughs. I don't even have to go into deep discussion about this, but how are we handling that with the shortage of PEP officers that are available to engage with folks in park settings and ask them to leave? Because I know that the NYPD does some of that, but I don't know if they have to be called, right? Because these are usually smaller parks, playgrounds in some instances. But that's been a consistent, pattern in the last, I don't know, I'm at a loss. I don't even remember when was the last time that I wasn't addressing an issue of drug use in a playground. But usually the problem is that we don't have enough PEP officers. And so I've been caught in a situation where I've had to recommend the closure of certain spaces, which obviously, the advocates hate, right? Because we want to keep, and I agree, I want to keep all these spaces open, but if they're only open to serve, as spaces for active drug use, and then, we're creating a situation where children can potentially enter the space and come in contact with syringes that are littered throughout these spaces, that scares, the bejesus out of me. So how do you decide what part gets more enforcement? Is that even possible with the workforce?
Well, Council Member, thank you so very much for your statement and for understanding, and you having been intimately involved in understanding and visiting. And as you know, I was with you and on a walkthrough that we visited. It's something happening right in front of our very own eyes that we witnessed. But you have always been, sharing with us, the concerns that you have in the particular parks that we've tried to address. And it's and if we've needed to close something because the usage of that park was not what it was intended to be, we've done it as well to try to be able to minimize the population coming in there into a playground where children are supposed to be. But we also are very about providing, seeding these parks with positive activity to be able to weed out any kind of negative element in that sense. And we try to strategize and focus on certain locations that are brought to our attention with the PEP officers. And at that note, I'm going to let Commissioner Harris add to that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Council Member. I too was at the walkthrough, and essentially after that walkthrough, we put together a plan with dedicated patrols. As you're aware, there are some parks that we were there consistently throughout the day where possible, but the goal, once we receive the complaint and we know that there is a concern, is not only to conduct patrols, but then again also to ensure that DOHMH teams and also NYPD are aware of that activity, right? We know that where there's usually drug use, there might be drug sales, right? So again, coordinating with our partners to ensure that we're addressing the condition holistically, and then having officers there that could address conditions on the ground or serve as a deterrent.
Yeah. I mean, if we could pay attention a little bit to McNair Park this summer. I know last summer we had to shut it down for a little bit. I know it's open and I want it to remain open, but I was driving by yesterday and there are a lot of just primarily like grown men in the park, and they're in the playground space. So that's the part of it that, you know, is upsetting, is like, you know, parents don't want to take their children to the playground because it's populated by grown men that are either asleep or, you know, using drugs. I think, you know, a good question would also be, is the Parks Department working with the OHMH and with some of the harm reduction groups in those communities, so that we're offering services and trying to get people into treatment, but at the same time addressing the public health crisis that is, you know, the syringes all over our playgrounds.
I know that we've been working closely with Tricia Shamamura, the Borough Commissioner, as well, and there is a constant communication with DOHMH and Department of Homeless Services, and there's constant communication with them. So we work closely in the harm reduction with also with the groups, the community groups that also do intervention as well.
Yeah, Tricia's really good, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, everything the commissioner said is accurate. We definitely do work with service providers, let them know where we're seeing these individuals in need, so that way they can go out and conduct outreach with them. And that's with DOHMH, and in instances where those individuals who are using are unfortunately experiencing homelessness, then we would bring in DHS as well.
Are you also working with the Parks Department, with them on the syringe redemption program that's happening at the parks? Because I think that there was like an issue with maybe St. Mary's. I believe that the OHMH stated that they couldn't necessarily park near St. Mary's Park because there was some concerns.
So we have been working closely to make sure that the location of where the exchange is going on is not directly impacting the access for the children to be able to go to the playground or to the park. So we do coordinate very well with them to be able to do that. So.
Okay. That'll be helpful, and if you could keep me posted on like what you're seeing, if there is a reduction, it is a pilot program, and we're hoping that it'll kind of. Are you familiar with the redemption program?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the perfect example is Washington Square Park and the initiative that's going on there. And what's unique about that is the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is involved in it. So either diversion or prosecution is being considered, guiding our strategies and our approach. We are doing significant enforcement, drug sales, drug usage in that park, and then bringing it into to the prosecution element. So it's working. We're seeing crime reduction in that park, specifically down 13%. But at the same time, there's resources being offered to individuals in the park.
Yeah, we have to offer resources.
Right. So it's a holistic approach, multi-agency approach, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. We cannot rest our way out of this, unfortunately, but I would love to see an increase in the detectives that, what is that department called? Oh my goodness, my brain is, the detectives that oversee the drug activities in the city, the drug sales, and they're undercover.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Buy and bust.
Yeah, we don't have that many of them. You know, I know in my district, we had 14, that were assigned to Northern Manhattan, and they were assigned to 5 of the worst, crime areas. And so we never see them. And then they were using them, the NYPD moved them around to focus primarily on gun sales, but it allowed, the drug dealing industry to kind of, continue to grow. And I know in my community, most people focus on the drug users. I don't, because they're individuals that unfortunately have, an illness. But I would love to see, more, consistent policing around the drug dealing, and that it not take so long. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Chair, you can have your committee back.
Thank you. I want to ask about, I'm not sure if this has been asked yet, but about unleashed dogs. I know we had some discussion about this before. One of the recurring quality of life complaints in parks is dogs being off their leashes in areas or during hours where it's not permitted. Can the DPR speak to how often unleashed dogs are cited across the 5 boroughs, and whether PEP officers are adequately resourced to address these complaints?
Thank you for the question, council member. And yes, that's one of the highest oath summonses that New York City Parks issues. Absolutely. So we try first of all to get compliance. We first try to educate them to get immediate compliance, and then if we need to provide a summons, and then we do that. But that's one of our highest number of interactions that we have. Commissioner Harris?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Council Member, for the question. As the Commissioner mentioned, we do issue a lot of and receive a lot of unleashed dog complaints. When we look at our requests for services, unleashed dogs are the top complaints that we're receiving. In addition to that, just looking back at this calendar year from January to May 31st, top summons issued was for unleashed dog in the park, and we issued 22.2% of our summonses were for unleashed animal in the park. Looking at last year, it was in our top 3 summonses with 14.6% of the summonses issued related to unleashed dog. And then even going back just one more year, we were at 21.9%. So a good amount of our summonses are related to unleashed dog. And those are just summonses, right? That does not count all the interactions where there's education of our park rules as it relates to canine concerns and complaints.
So, Councilmember, I just wanted to add a little bit. One of the things that they educate them, because we have a lot of dog parks around throughout the city. So I say, along with educating them, we also direct them to wherever the nearest dog park would be as well.
Gotcha. And moving to call boxes and emergency communications in parks. Many NYC parks have aging infrastructure, including emergency call boxes that are non-functional or outdated. In parks with fewer patrols, particularly after dark, residents often raise concerns about the lack of real-time ways to report emergencies or threats. What we want to know is how many functional emergency call boxes currently exist in major parks, and how frequently are they being used?
So I'm not sure we have that data available. I think anecdotally we can describe that to a degree there are existing call boxes. They're often in areas that are by their very nature secluded. So our marinas, and where there might be an incident. So like our marinas are a decent example where I believe there are existing call boxes. And then there have been various efforts over the years to implement different approaches. I recall a pilot, sort of the blue light sort of stations in the Bronx was something that, in partnership with NYPD, we pursued a few years ago. And we'd have to circle back on sort of the immediate results of that pilot. My recollection is that we did not see a massive, thankfully we didn't see a massive influx of usage of those boxes. And not to be cavalier about it, but in a day and age where most folks have a cell phone in their pockets, I think we've seen, and pretty good cellular coverage throughout the city, I think we've seen, I think folks are able to reach 911 or other emergency resources in a variety of different ways.
But specifically with the boxes themselves, is the blue light an indication that the box is actually working or, functioning correctly? Because I'm thinking about sometimes in instances where folks may have their phone with them or somebody stole their phone, or they're just not able to get to the phone. It's one thing to be able to kind of, press something as they're running, but try to unlock a phone, part of the security of the phones themselves is now this not just first layer of security, but trying to do like different layers of authentication just to get into a phone.
Yeah, my understanding is the way they're designed is they are supposed to be used in a hurry, right? Like because in a condition where, that's my understanding. I think the different units have different setups, so I can't speak to whether the activation of let's say there is a literal blue light, if that's operational, there could be instances in which, there is still a problem with that unit. Again, I don't think we have that data with us today in terms of the number of units and how many are fully operational as today, but we're happy to look further into that.
I think that would definitely be helpful, especially because for safety measures, especially in areas where we may want to deploy that as well. Having that up, I know on college campuses, it's definitely something that, as they see that, they get the opportunity to say, okay, well, at least I know we're safe. But if we can, utilize that same service, I don't want to call it low tech, but maybe easier to deploy than an actual officer in those spaces would definitely go a long way. Moving to the PEP headcount and deployment. DPR's PEP has been consistently flagged as understaffed, particularly to larger parks and during overnight or weekend hours. The new Central Park Conservancy Rangers do not have enforcement powers which may further stretch PEP's role. What is the current headcount of full-time PEP officers citywide, and how many PEP officers are assigned per borough? And how is this deployment determined across parks, properties of different sizes and usage levels?
We have 250 officers throughout the city, and we try to make sure that we have about, and we also have, and that includes 80 PEP officers. Does not include 80 PEP officers dedicated to the specific parks locations, such as Washington Square Park and the High Line. So we try to distribute them equitably throughout the city. We have about we try to average about 50 per borough to do that, with the exception of Staten Island, that we do about 31 in Staten Island. But we also, with these 50 officers that we have throughout the boroughs, we strategically try to place them or to be able to have them patrol areas that of concentration that have been noted between NYPD and the complaints of the elected officials that have shared with us. So we try to use whatever the resources that we have available. We try to maximize it as best as possible throughout the city.
And I'll just add, as the commissioner noted in her testimony, that in addition to the officers who are peace officers that can make arrests and issue summons, we also have our park security service staff, which can, which around 50 or so year round, and that balloons up to about 300, 350 in our busiest season, and they serve a really helpful informant. They're uniformed, though they don't make arrests or issue summons, but they're a really helpful part of the enforcement presence. And also our urban park rangers, about 80 of which we have about 80 or so, also provide a really valuable enforcement presence. They can issue summons, although their focus is largely on our educational programs in our natural areas, but they're another additional set of eyes and ears out there for enforcement purposes.
Perfect. Moving to the NYPD, homelessness in parks specifically, constituents have raised concerns about the visible presence of homeless individuals sleeping in parks and the potential over-reliance on enforcement instead of outreach. Parks are also used as shelter alternatives by individuals unable or unwilling to access DHS services. So my question is, what is the NYPD's enforcement policy when encountering homeless individuals sleeping in public parks, particularly during open hours? And how is that policy coordinated with the Department of Homeless Services and outreach providers?
Thank you for that question, Chair. So year-to-date, there's been 206 encampment operations conducted in a New York City park citywide, where we offer assistance and outreach and services. Our primary objective when these operations occur, after a notice is served, is just site security. We're not there for enforcement. We're not criminalizing homelessness. So it's about connecting the other city agencies to the client and offering services and providing shelter if accepted. So if a New York City police officer happens to notice an individual or an encampment that's experiencing homelessness, they'll log it in, and it will be referred to Community Link, and then that will be addressed by an interagency approach. That's the standard practice citywide, not enforcement.
Thank you. Youth-involved group robberies in Central Park. The NYPD reported a rise in juvenile-led swarm robberies in Central Park, mostly occurring between 7 p.m. and 1 a.m., including groups of youth as young as 11 years old. What we want to know is what specific strategies is the NYPD using to address the rise in juvenile-involved group robberies in Central Park, and how is the department coordinating with youth services or diversion programs in response to these incidents?
So that was an issue that rose significantly in 2024. This year in 2025, we've had 2 robberies in Central Park versus 21 last year, where we have a decrease of 90%. So it was a strategy of deployment and recognizing trends and patterns and identifying individuals, and proper deployment resulted in arrests and referrals to Manhattan District Attorney's Office and prosecution or diversion. So that was a strategy. It worked. Presence, intelligent deployment, and prosecution were appropriate. And as you can see, 2 versus 21, we've been successful.
Moving to the NYPD drone use in parks, the NYPD recently announced plans to deploy autonomous drones to monitor Central Park due to a spike in crime at the park's large and hard-to-cover geography. What is the NYPD's policy for using drones in parks like Central Park, including protocols for data collection, storage, and public notice? And will footage be used in real time to enforce or investigate or for investigative purposes only?
So with regards to drones and drones as a first responder, generally speaking, they deploy only to 911 calls. So we do have drones located in Central Park that would be deployed to assist responding officers in 911 calls. I spoke earlier about drones being used in several beaches across the city as a safety measure. Sharks, and they have the ability to deploy flotation devices if someone is struggling out in the water. So that creates another layer of public safety in the beaches. So, but generally speaking, drones are deployed when a 911 call is transmitted. As far as your other question was, as far as the recording of drone footage and how long it lasts, I don't have any information on that. The drone unit would be able to speak to that.
Gotcha. Response to illegal dirt bikes and ATVs in parks. Van Cortlandt Park continues to be used by illegal dirt bikes and ATV riders, despite signage and NYPD seizures. Enforcement remains limited by safety concerns and access issues. So what we want to know is, given the dangers posed by illegal ATVs and dirt bikes in parks, particularly Van Cortlandt Park, how is the NYPD coordinating with DPR to better restrict access and ensure a stronger deterrent? And are there current limitations on how officers are allowed to engage with riders?
Right, so engaging in enforcement of dirt bikes, mopeds in city parks is definitely challenging and concerning in that individuals could flee across the city park and strike a park goer. So that's a concern of ours. And our strategy is kind of tailored as a result. We do a lot of enforcement in the roadways, out in the city streets, in and around parks, specifically Van Cortlandt Park and Prospect Park was another park we were talking about, and we had prior operations for. So organically, we feel if we're seizing these bikes and mopeds and motorcycles in high volumes at bridges and tunnels and roadways in a safe, legal manner, it will naturally benefit the parks. So I don't have the numbers in front of me as far as seizures citywide, but consistently NYPD ups the bar, and our seizures keep increasing. We have dedicated units to address this issue, as well as the car meets that we mentioned, especially in city parks. There are text message chains, as the council member had mentioned, implementing. We have them. We have intelligence being shared that we're seeing online, monitoring car meetup groups to address car meetup groups and motorcycle rideouts. So at the highest levels, we take this very seriously, and we have units directed to address these issues, and we are successful. We're not just ignoring the issue or pushing it down the road. We're addressing it, but we need to do it in a safe manner to both the officers and the rider of that moped motorcycle.
I'd like to note for the record that we've been joined by Councilmember Stevens. Moving to the Community Link Initiative, Mayor Adams announced a multi-agency Community Link operation to address quality of life and public safety in Central Park. The Central Park Conservancy's new Ranger Corps has been deployed to address quality of life issues without enforcement power. My question is, how does the DPR coordinate with the Rangers in real time, and what protocols are in place to escalate an issue from observation to enforcement?
Thank you, Council Member, for that question. So we actually have a text thread that NYPD Central Park Precinct is on, along with the Ranger Corps. In addition to that, we also meet our team, NYPD, and the Central Park Conservancy on a regular basis. There are times where we meet multiple times weekly, at least once a week, to talk about the conditions that we're seeing throughout the park, and then again, how we're going to address those conditions. We also get a weekly report of what the Rangers have been seeing in the park, and again, compare it to what the NYPD and the PEP teams are seeing on the ground, so that way we can adequately address those conditions and then issue summonses where necessary.
Thank you. I'd like to now pass it to Councilmember Stevens for her questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Salam, and thank you for having this hearing. Good afternoon. Well, got a couple minutes. So good morning. Still have 5 more minutes. But I guess for me, my big question is just especially around the PEP officers in the Bronx. Can you tell me how many are deployed throughout the Bronx, and if you have the numbers broken down by district, that would be helpful, especially for the summer. I know they're typically seasonal, and just trying to get a better understanding of like also how do you determine the amount and where they're going, especially because I know it's typically stretched thin and you don't have as many.
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. As mentioned, we do have a finite number of PEP officers. Our team is very dedicated throughout the borough. Ultimately, the baseline for the borough is 52, and the officers are deployed throughout the borough. We also have a park.
Do you have a breakdown of where those 52 officers are placed throughout the borough?
So they're deployed throughout the borough, so they're not like, our PEP have various commands, but we deploy throughout. So let's say in the Bronx, we have a command at Mill Pond, we have a command at Pelham Bay, there's a Katona command, but those officers are interchangeable and they're deployed based on the complaints that we're getting and conditions throughout the borough. And in addition, we do have our Park Security Service team. As mentioned, we do onboard over 250 of those individuals who come on and.
How many do you think you would need to actually have deployment at all the parks? Because I think that that's, like, what would get you to a number where they would not have to be moving in the way that they do to help kind of secure? Because especially in the summertime, like you said, you have at Mill Pond Park and Pelham, and those parks are, the Bronx is pretty big, so it's spread out pretty deeply. So how many do you think you would need so that people could be permanently stationed in these places to be at full capacity?
So council member, thank you so very much for the question and the concern. Of course, we make do with the officers that we have. and we try
I'm
to-
not asking for making do, because I'm trying to figure out how do we get y'all whole.
Oh, so we'll take any kind of additional resources that can be provided. We will definitely be able to utilize them.
So, like, would it make sense for you guys to be at 100? Like, I'm trying to get to a number because I think that this is part of the problem, especially the Bronx has the most parks and has the most parks land, and 52 officers just does not seem enough. And I know myself specifically, I have Joyce Kilmore, I have Fred Siegel, I have Crotona, I have McCombs Dam. I have all these parks, and especially in the summertime, we have a high number of people having barbecues there, and it's a lot of trash. And so just thinking about if we had more officers there to kind of enforce some of the rules, that would alleviate the things on some of the other things. And so that's why I'm asking, what number would it take for you to get whole so that we can push for that and all be on the same page so it can actually ease up some of the other things?
We appreciate that, council member, and I think the challenge is that there isn't really a magic number per se. Obviously, as you've heard, the baseline is 50 for the Bronx. Just to be clear, that's the highest it's been historically since, you know what I mean? Just so everyone's aware, this is actually the highest level of our PEC.
I'm not giving them praise for getting to 50.
Anyhow, but I think one factor that I think is worth noting, that in order to have what I think you're addressing is what we would call a fixed post presence, someone who's sort of staff stationed there throughout the day. And just to be clear, in order to do that, the park needs to fit certain criteria. Namely, you need to make sure that there is a park house, a restroom, a place to work out of, and not every park property will have that. So certain properties, just by their nature, could only be covered by a mobile patrol. But having said that, I think we hear you that there's interest in identifying more of these, let's call it fixed post potential sites, and identifying that universe.
So how many fixed posts do you have, like, other than because obviously you have some there, but what are ones that you have that's fixed, that could be a fixed post that you don't have PEP officers at?
Right, that's an excellent question. I don't believe we have that number available today. That would require some analysis and some.
Okay, I would love for us to start working on that analysis and for us to start working there, because I know there's this big push for us to get 1% of the budget to parks, which I'm full support of, but I also want us to make sure that we have the information to continue to push that fight, and information like that is helpful for us when we are calling for more money for the parks, and these are the services that we're specifically asking for, because I do want, like I said, we have a lot of parks in the Bronx, and it is beholden to us to make sure that we have all of the amenities that we need to keep them as beautiful as they are. So thank you.
No problem.
Central Park PEP officers and NYPD issued a combined 583 summonses related to illegal vending and pedicab violations this year. What education efforts, if any, has DPR led to proactively inform vendors and pedicab operations about the rule changes before issuing these fines?
I'm sorry, Councilmember, can you repeat the question?
Sure. So, just taking it from the top, Central Park PEP officers and NYPD has issued a combination of 583 summonses related to illegal vending and pedicab violations this year alone. What we want to know is what education efforts, if any, has DPR led to proactively inform vendors and pedicab operators about rule changes before issuing fines?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. So when our teams go out, as mentioned, we do take an education-first approach. We do have areas throughout the park where there's signage. We also engage that individual at the time that we observe them, let them know what the violations are, and give them an opportunity to comply. If that individual chooses not to comply and we cannot generate voluntary compliance, then we would move to enforcement. Essentially, in our parks, we deal with a lot of unauthorized vending, and again, as you mentioned, pedicab violations that we work to address through education and then again through enforcement.
Do you all have a number on how many summonses were issued last year as compared to this year?
When you're saying number, you're talking about Central Park specific, correct?
Yeah.
We would have to get that Central Park specific number to you.
Thanks. We'll definitely be looking forward to that. Moving to auxiliary officers in parks, NYPD has an auxiliary police program that supplements patrol visibility throughout the city. However, it's unclear to what extent auxiliary officers are deployed in or around parks. Our question is, does the NYPD currently assign auxiliary officers to park-specific patrols, and if so, which parks or precincts have the highest coverage?
So each individual precinct utilizes and leverages their auxiliary officers in different ways, and Central Park Precinct has been using them as an educational approach with regard to e-bikes, as well as just a presence, NYPD presence in the park. But I can't speak to every command throughout the city and how they use auxiliaries. It would be a good practice to use them in parks. They might be using them in other manners for other reasons, but in Central Park, it's appropriate, obviously, and it's being utilized.
Well, thanks. That is all the questions that I have for this panel. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So we will be moving to public testimony. I now open it up for public testimony for this hearing. I remind the members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. And as such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but they may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record for today. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When you are recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. And you may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. That's testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. I now call the first panel. Adam Gansner? David Saltonstall? Shatik Mitchell? Donald Chapman? And Ralph Baselice? Thank you. You may begin in any order you wish. Just make sure you press the button and see that the microphone is on by indication with the red light.
Hi. Thank you, Chair Salam, for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Adam Ganzer. I am the Executive Director of New Yorkers for Parks. We represent over 450 organizations across the city, all pulling for more funding for our city's park system. Public safety continues to be the most compelling issue in New York City today, and the condition of our city's parks reflect the broader concerns of New Yorkers. Budget cuts and the hiring freezes over the last 3 years have resulted in 800 fewer park staffing lines across the agency, PEP included. Despite the testimony you just heard, the agency is down 60 PEP officers over the last 3 years. Instead of a safe refuge, many of our city's parks are places that families are avoiding. The best path towards a safe park system is to fully restore staffing across the agency. Staff of all levels in our city's parks ensure that our parks are not just well-maintained, but have an active, vigilant presence of parks workers, a presence that deters problematic activity and at times unlawful activity. Top of the list of parks workers to restore are certainly PEP officers. PEP officers, as you heard, provide public-facing information to parks visitors, making sure folks are following the rules, issuing summonses, et cetera. Some quick data. As you heard, there are currently 250 PEP officers. Those 250 PEP officers are visiting 2,200 parks a day. 2,200 parks a day. How do they do it? Well, they can't. They just can't do it. From the park's own data, 91% of the city's parks receive less than 30 minutes of PEP coverage daily, if they get it at all. Contrast that with the privately funded PEP officers that are visiting roughly 8 to 10 parks. Those parks have 80 PEP officers, more or less 8 to 10 per park. At New Yorkers for Parks, we talk with communities across the city, and their top concern is safety, and they are all demanding more PEP officers. If the mayor and the city council are serious about quality of life and safety issues, they must come together to restore the nearly 800 positions that have been cut and build the Parks Enforcement Patrol team so their very good work can be felt in every single New York City park. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Salam and members of the council. My name is David Saltonstall. I'm Vice President for Government Relations and Policy at the Central Park Conservancy, and I'm joined here by Shatik Mitchell, our Director of Civic Engagement. About a year ago, after a spate of concerning incidents in the park, the Conservancy joined with the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety's office to try and develop some strategies for addressing crime and quality of life issues. We began with one simple premise, reinforced often by then Deputy Mayor Chauncey Parker, which is that no single entity can create safety in Central Park or any park. Success depends on collaboration. So we developed a partnership, which I think you heard the Commissioner talk about earlier, that includes more than a dozen city agencies working hand in hand to address not just crime and longstanding quality of life concerns, but also services for those in need, whether it's a bed in a safe haven shelter or urgent psychiatric care. The approach is not complicated. Once or twice a week, representatives from each agency and the Conservancy hop on a Zoom call and review a punch list of items, which can range anywhere from a broken streetlight that needs fixing to an individual in crisis, to a tree branch that is blocking an NYPD camera and needs pruning, as happened last week. Strategies are developed in real time, tasks are assigned to specific agency leads, and timelines are established. And progress toward each task is revisited the following week. It's working. As the Commissioner and others noted, year-to-date, crime in Central Park Precinct is down by 50%, including a 90% drop in robberies. At the same time, through regular surveys by the Department of Homeless Services along 110th Street corridor, we have connected some 48 people to shelter. Of course, every park is different. The challenges in Central Park are different than the ones in Marcus Garvey Park or in Flushing Meadows, just like the topography is different. But we believe the beauty of the approach taken in Central Park is that if it is scalable and could be tailored to other parks. What is required is a willingness to work together, a commitment to develop strategies that are sustained, and crucially, a convener like the Deputy Mayor's Office that has the authority and the capacity to drive agency cooperation. It is also vital that the next city budget restore some $79 million in cuts to the Parks Department to help strengthen agency staffing, including some 60 Parks Enforcement Patrol officers who play an absolutely vital role in Central Park. There's always more work to be done, but we believe that this multi-agency approach, combined with the restoration of the Parks Department cuts, could offer a new path forward for improving safety in parks, and we would be happy to answer any questions that members may have. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you as well.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Ralph Basilis, Vice President, Local 983, and I'm also a Park Ranger Sergeant for the last 20 years. We represent 19 titles in just about every city agency you could think of. Here today on behalf of PEP. One thing I heard everyone agree upon is visibility. When I was hired, the flyer was a highly visible uniform presence to detect and deter crime. Our numbers are down citywide, not just because I'm their union rep. Citywide park enforcement has gone to one tour. I believe it's 9:30 to 6 with the opening of the beaches and pools. As you know, they're at Rockaway. They're all over New York City. They're responsible for the water. The lifeguards work 10 to 6 p.m. The park enforcement officers keep folks out of the water prior to that and after that, which should be interesting over the course of the next 3 days with the heat wave. Focusing on visibility. The average quality of life, hold on, let me just get this gum out of my teeth. No one's gonna commit basic quality of life crimes if they see me. I'm not trying to downplay the job. I'm almost like a scarecrow in the garden. I'd like to speak to Council Member Holden. I don't know if you remember when they were allegedly stealing the bleachers in Juniper Valley Park on the ball fields. PEP was there, so we had an overtime detail, and we're like, stealing bleachers, you gotta be kidding me. So we were there for about a week, and lo and behold, what they would do is the hardware would get taken off first, so you wouldn't see anything. So we get there one night, the hardware was gone, all the bolts and nuts, and then they would just collapse it. They didn't steal it the time we were there, and I believe it stopped after that because they knew we were gonna be there. Now, you can't prevent every crime that's gonna happen, but we need more park enforcement officers citywide to preserve the park. A lot of council members spoke about graduation parties, communion parties, birthday parties. This happens in the park. It's the only thing that's one of the few things that are free in New York City. This is free recreational space that, I mean, they have us paying for garbage cans, congestion pricing. Let's focus on parks. Let's make them safe. Let's get more park rangers, more PEP, not just because I represent them. The results are there. It shows when they're around, crime is reduced. Thank you very much for taking the time out to listen.
Thank you as well. Well, thank you. There's no, I don't have any more questions for this panel. You are excused, and thank you for your testimony. I now call up Bella Stewart, Hunt Wormfield, Melissa Julian, Michael Siegel, Nadira Pittman, and Christopher Leon Johnson.
After this, we have one person on Zoom.
And you may begin in any order. Just make sure that the button is pressed and the microphone is on as indicated by the red light.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be able to present before you, and thank you for listening to me. I have lived in this area for over 50 years, and City Hall Park is my park. I volunteer there frequently because there are not enough staff in the park to keep the park going and to keep it looking beautiful. But I've never, ever seen a PEP officer in the park, and there's been a proliferation of bicycles, many of them electrified bicycles, and other kinds of electric vehicles, including motorcycles. Somebody, I think, Robert Holden, you mentioned a motorcycle. They come in frequently. They don't only go one way, they go both ways towards the Brooklyn Bridge, which has actually made provision for the separation of pedestrians and wheeled vehicles, something that hasn't been done in our park. And so on a fairly narrow pathway, which is a pedestrian throughway to the Brooklyn Bridge subway stop, there are endless numbers of bicycles, including now tour groups who gather at the Warren Street and Broadway to put, city bike people who are just probably 20 of them, and they're directed to go through this little narrow path towards the Brooklyn Bridge. And not only is it one way, and of course there is a small sign that says one way. People pay no attention to that. There are arrows that have been wiped away from the street. There's a lot of broken stones now because of the proliferation of traffic through there. But frankly, I take my life in my hands when I go to the park, and it's unconscionable, and really I wish there were more PEP officers there to ensure that people who use the park, who are residents of the area, can feel safe. And not just me, but the whole community. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, good morning, or I should say good afternoon, Council. My name is Mel Julian. I am representing the New York City Plover Project, and I'm also here representing the New Yorkers for Parks Playfair Coalition. Thank you all for being here today and for having us today. As the New York City Plover Project, we're a Rockaway-based nonprofit. We help protect the endangered piping plover, which is a shorebird that is native to the area. So we spend a lot of our time on the beaches out in the Rockaways, which, as we all know, is an extremely high-traffic area, especially this time of year. I want to just talk about a very special location within the Rockaways for wildlife. It's called the Rockaway Beach Endangered Species Nesting Area. It's located in the R. Vernon Edgemere community along the shoreline. It's home to at least 5 protected species of wildlife, including the piping plover. And the connection is that PEP is very instrumental in protecting and helping to manage this area. So PEP officers are needed to kind of station at either end of this area and just make sure that both people, so beachgoers, and the wildlife are protected. And again, they are very key and instrumental to this area, but unfortunately, they are not able to be there at all times. This area is not a recreational beach, so it is not open for swimming, surfing. It is strictly a wildlife area, and PEP is very instrumental in making sure that people do not enter this area and attempt to engage in these type of recreational activities. And so we just want to make sure that we are just very vocal and very supportive of allocating budget for PEP, and we want to suggest that at least $79.7 million can be allocated in the FY26 budget for PEP. And as we've all heard today, PEP is extremely instrumental in ensuring public safety, and we are very supportive of that. So thank you all today.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nadira Pittman. Today, I'm not going to speak to you guys in regards to anything regarding parks, but my primary concern is public safety and the quality of life. Dealing with the NYPD, I have made over 20 police reports regarding harassment, death threats, etc. I'm just like any other individual. I started working at a young age. I went to college. I have pursued my life in a positive effect. But these individuals are hindering my quality of life. I'm not understanding why the NYPD is not taking my concerns seriously with the harassment, the cyber attacks, the wiretapping. These are all illegal acts. No one is taking my concerns seriously.
being a single woman does not mean that she is up for grabs pertaining to anything. What I see here is that the primary issue is these fraternities and sororities that are hidden within these organizations as far as it's definitely a detriment to our public. I understand that a lot of people are benefiting from these fraternities, but it's definitely not safe for individuals that are not a part of it because I have witnessed a lot of women and children, even young men getting victimized due to these fraternities. You know, because if someone is into a fraternity does not mean that they can victimize another individual based off of dislike, color, sexual orientation at all. So my primary concern is to come to you guys to inform you of, you know, what is occurring. Why the NYPD? I have 20 police reports. I went to a detective. He closed out my case right away. Why aren't they helping me? You know, why am I getting harassed by these various individuals? And why are no one investigating it? Why is it, you know, I'm just like anyone else. Self-defense is not a crime. When you have to defend yourself, I have been attacked by a woman in the streets. I could not defend myself because the police will not assist me. You know, that's not a crime to defend yourself. And to someone to title you as aggressive to defend yourself as a woman, a single woman, it's definitely against unconstitutional and against ethics in general. So I would definitely want you guys to put into play a possible bill or some type of law to which if anyone is in a fraternity, to let us know that you are part of an organization to which that you practice in. It's unfair for the public to be victimized or you to have a gain over someone or possibly have code in conversation in which we all are engaging in a conversation, and it's unfair. You know, I think it's definitely disrespectful to have a code and you know, speaking in those codes, while the public is coming here and all together, we all are here to communicate with one another.
So I do have a question.
So it's definitely something that maybe you need to.
I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
My question is, the district that you live in, have you been engaging with your council member in regards to the bill that you just
I have went
discussed?
to. I'm sorry. Yes, I have went to Department of Justice, FBI.
No, I'm talking about specifically your council member.
Yes, sir. I have called them, I have emailed, I have thousands of emails. That shows that there is something going on hidden underneath that's preventing me to obtain justice and protection. You know, I was born in this country, not saying that anyone that was not born in this country does not deserve protection, but I was born here. I have worked my entire life. I look very young, but I am 40 years old. You know, I have worked since I was a teenager. I have contributed to this country. You know, I have put my hard-earned tax money. Now they're coming at me with the money that I distributed to the country.
What district are you specifically in?
I'm sorry, sir?
What district do you live in?
31.
Okay, so what we would recommend is that we follow back up with your district, with your council member, to follow through with some of the legislation that you're trying to get pushed forward.
Yeah, and it's definitely an issue because it's not making sense. Why am I getting victimized? Why are these people making up lies on me? You know, follow me around, harassing me. You know, okay, I'm single. Okay, that's fine. But why do I have to be put under these type of conditions? I have worked hard my entire life.
Because we are at time, we'll definitely make sure that you follow up with your council member to get your issues pushed forward specifically.
Okay, and
right?
also, will you consider what I also stated as far as the fraternities? You know, this is definitely an issue, and it's a danger to the public. People are getting victimized because of these fraternities. They're not getting the protection. The women and children are not getting the protection they need because of these fraternities. Will there be some sort of bill that will definitely let us know that you're in a fraternity, that let us know what you're doing. Let us know what your belief is. That's okay. But
The proposition that you are proposing
yes, sir.
will be coming, or will have to be in conversation with your council member. So we
Okay.
hear you. It's definitely on, your testimony has been recorded,
Well, council.
and we are at time.
Okay.
So your testimony definitely has been recorded.
I appreciate you hearing me today. I definitely understand that your primary goal is the public safety within the parks. But, you know, public safety in general is definitely a concern for me. And, you know, and I'm here to, you know, this is out of my norm. You know, I deal with healthcare. I went to school for healthcare. I want to pursue nursing. This is not something that I would normally come here for, but I am witnessing too many victims, including myself, who has went to an officer, looked him in the eye, and begged him for help. He turned me away. He did not help me at all. And I'm still enduring this situation. So I'm definitely coming here so that I can obtain you guys information, and then we can move forward there. And I'm also going to follow your advice as well.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much.
We're going to now call the online participants.
We'll start with Corey Hassan.
Time starts now.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Salam and members of the Committee of Public Safety for convening this hearing. My name is Corey Hassan. I'm the Government Affairs Manager of the New York Restoration Project. NYRP is a member of the Parks and Open Space Partners and Play Fair Coalition. I'm testifying today to advocate for the mayor and the city council to allocate $79.7 million in the FY26 budget to restore and strengthen NYC Parks workforce and programs, including funding 60 Parks Enforcement Patrol officers, PEP officers. Beyond responding to the concerns of park users, PEP officers can provide life-saving first aid and support at-risk individuals in need of social services. More PEP officers will help keep our parks clean and safe, bringing in more parks users, making these spaces a more reliable resource for New Yorkers. These spaces are at full capacity and are invaluable resources that foster physical and mental health, providing spaces for social interaction. PEP officers are unionized career civil servants. Expanding this workforce means a more stable middle-class jobs for New Yorkers, and a stronger, more accountable city workforce and a safer park system. All New Yorkers, regardless of where they live, deserve to feel safe in their open spaces. As the city invests in new and expanded parks and parks programs, it must also invest in personnel who keeps the spaces safe, usable, and thriving. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll next move to Christopher Leon Johnson.
Time starts now.
Yeah, hello, Chair Salam. My name is and Chair Holden. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson, and I am speaking in to show my support to Vicky Palladino's intro 60, which will ban e-bikes inside the parks. I understand that this hearing is about law enforcement accountability when it comes to the parks, but at the same time, we need to start talking about the e-bike situation in these parks, because I believe what's going on is that the city council is scared of transportation alternatives in New York for parks, because I just saw in the hearing Kathy Park Price, who is now the Director of Policy of NY4P in New York for Parks. And what's going on is that both of those nonprofits, transportation alternatives and New York for Parks, are in the way of real accountability when it comes to the parks, when it comes to e-bikes being taken out the parks. I'm calling the city council to really show their support for this bill. I understand that the commissioner has shown her support by limiting the bikes to 15 miles per hour and start giving out Class C substances to anybody who ride an e-bike that goes below red lights. But at the same time, we need to make sure for right now is to ban e-bikes from the parks, because a lot of people getting hurt and killed in these parks, and there's no accountability. So I'm calling the city council to publicly disassociate themselves from New York for Parks, because they have a complete lobbyist, Kathy Park Price, who is now the Director of Policy, really influencing not only now the Parks Committee in the City Council. She's going to completely creep up and influence the Public Safety Committee. And like I said, I'm calling the City Council to really denounce New York for Parks, that nonprofit because they're another nonprofit now that's going to be in the way of real accountability when it comes to e-bike regulation and bike bans and e-bike bans and moped bans from the parks. Not only transportation alternatives, there's now going to be New York for Parks on what they call NY4P because of the lady that was there standing behind Mrs. Pittman, the Asian lady named Kathy
Time
Park.
expired. Thank you.
So thank you so much and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
If anybody's present who does wish to submit testimony today, you can see the Sergeant-at-Arms in the back. Just want to make sure we've covered everybody. Seeing none, I'll pass it to you, Chair Salam.
Perfect, thank you. That concludes today's business. This hearing is adjourned.